LSU position previews for 2019 next on Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Talking LSU football, we go to Billy Gomilla from And the Valley Shook. You can catch him right there on SB Nation breaking down LSU athletics across the board with the rest of himself and the staff. And, of course, football is coming up very soon. We're at SEC, the conference coaches getting together in Destin, Florida later this week. And, of course, media days will be here before you know it. Let's look at the offensive line, Billy. Obviously, that ties into the running game. Our previous video released the running woes. I'm looking at a yards per carry average that was the worst for LSU since going back to 2012. And the good news is just about everybody's back. Garrett Brumfield would be the one exception.
Yeah, they return something like 6 or 7 total bodies with starting experience in terms of just having a lot of guys that they cycled in and out last year. I think in the first 7 games, they started 6 different lineups. The Rock is definitely going to be Lloyd Cushenberry at center, who kind of a question mark last year and was really, really solid for just about the whole year. He really struggled in the Alabama game against Quinnen Williams, but so did most centers who went up against Quinnen Williams. He's somebody that I think could contend for all conference honors this year. The question marks, I think, are going to be how they shuffle the other bodies. Sadiq Charles is almost definitely going to be back at left tackle. Big key for him is staying healthy. I think, has the talent to be an NFL draft pick at that position. He's a big guy, great athlete, quick feet, played goalie in soccer in high school. So, he's a heck of an athlete and really quick. He just has to stay healthy. He's missed time from injuries, and you've seen him in games where he just doesn't have that same oomph to him, that same quickness with injury. So he'll probably, I think, take up that left tackle spot. Inside, Damian Lewis, the big JUCO transfer from last year, will be back at one of the guard positions, probably right guard. They could flip-flop depending on how they line some things up. He struggled a little bit at times, but you saw the talent with him. I think he's definitely primed for another big year. Or at the right tackle spot, you've got Austin Deculus, who back for his second year starting. He also saw some time as a true freshman. Big kid. Still looks like he's trying to find his way a little bit, and I think also needs to stay healthy. I think he's also been limited by some injuries, but he may be better off as a guard, but for right now he's a tackle. And finding that other guard spot is going to be interesting. You may have Ed Ingram, who was a freshman all-conference pick in 2017, missed 2018 with a legal situation. Looks like he may be back. That's not set in stone yet. You got Adrian McGee, who's going to be a senior, who's played some tackle, played some guard, started the Miami game last year. Kind of a limited player, but a veteran and a mean player. He brings some attitude to the position. I think it's good. And then, of course, you got 5-star guard Cardell Thomas coming in, and he's a guy that wants to play and that I think they'll want to get on the field in some capacity. It's just a question of whether that's in rotation or if he can step in and just take the spot over.
Billy, I'm looking at a depth chart and just counted up 8 upperclassmen, meaning juniors and seniors, and reading the good and the bad and so forth on a place called In the Valley Shook. So it's a rundown right there. We can point everybody to that to supplement what we're discussing right here in terms of the offensive line and what to expect for 2019. And the Valley Shook, just check it out. That was posted on April 4th. So I guess it's the age-old question in college football when you have a positional unit that underachieved last year, but just about everybody's coming back. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, especially when you recruit at the level of LSU? But certainly they're going to give it another go with another year of development for these guys, with much more expected from the running game and certainly to contend in that division. And Joe Burrow being a very good quarterback, but maybe not a guy that wants to carry the entire offense on his shoulders. It's going to be very important that this group steps up.
Yeah, I really think the offensive line is the key to the whole offense. And, you return a lot. We see a lot of examples of offensive lines kind of gel over the course of time and get better. You see more examples of when a unit like that returns a lot of starters, even if they weren't great, they tend to kind of get better together. The big key will just be keeping everybody healthy, keeping that continuity, because the way LSU wants to run its blocking scheme, it's very predicated on teamwork, on zone blocking, on combination blocks, and things of that nature, and tagging who's got this guy and who's going off to the second level and things like that. And continuity is a big part of that. And getting that back for this group, I think, is the important thing. If they can really gel together and find, I guess, 6 bodies that they know they can count on game in, game out, the 5 starters plus that one guy that can sub in at different spots, in games to give guys a breather. I think they can really put something special together with this group. But that's the key. Quarterback is always the big question mark with LSU, but for the last couple of years between Burrow and then even Danny Allen before him, it felt like you were comfortable there. You may not have had a great playmaker, but you had somebody you could trust. The big key as to whether or not this group will come back is whether or not they can protect him and help make that running game be that constant that he can build off of and create those, stay in good down and distances, avoid third and long, and create play action opportunities to take those shots down the field.
Yeah, I always thought it was to be a very strange dynamic in regards to the importance of the position versus the anonymity, because it's the only position on the field that has no statistics whatsoever that people actually look at. And then obviously the camera stays with the football. The offensive linemen are just kind of an afterthought in regards to people knowing names and knowing you got to be an All-American before anybody knows your name. But you mention, and it's a great point, and I try to make it as much as possible. It's probably the second most difficult position on the field to play generally after quarterback. And in terms of cohesion and chemistry, it's needed more so than any other group. Yeah, defensive back to a certain extent, they got to work together, the linebackers, but the offensive line, that's not even close. The chemistry and cohesiveness is imperative there to be good and not just have 5 individual players up there beating their guy.
Yeah, and like I said, last year they started, I think, 6 different lineups in 6 games, or it might have been 6 of the first 7. They had different lineups every week. And Brumfield missed, I think, a good half the season. Charles missed a few games. Deculus missed some time. Cushenberry was kind of your rock in the middle, and I think he'll be that again this year. The question is just finding 5 good starters around him, and if they can find that, I think this offense has a chance to be better than what we've seen from LSU in a little while.
Talking LSU football with Billy Gomilla from In the Valley Shook. Please join him and the rest of the staff there on SB Nation. We'll have Billy back very soon to break down the rest of the units on the LSU team. And always want to get your barometer on where the team stands and where the fan base stands, because this is a team that's in search of a championship. It's been since 2011 in terms of winning an SEC or the national championship. And I know that this fan base wants it desperately, and the recruiting numbers and so forth show that you should be in the mix. So it's a fascinating program and situation for me in particular, and just knowing what the expectations are, what the talent typically looks like, but the mountain that there is to climb in the SEC Western Division.
Still got to get by Alabama, and that's a tough task for anybody right now.
Absolutely. Billy, we appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks, man. Anytime.